Artificial intelligence. A term that means many things, but today it means generative AI in the form of large language models. I've been researching it for some time, and one thing became clear very quickly. This is key to both utilizing and criticizing generative AI. Pardon my French. Ceci n'est pas un cerveau. What I quickly realized was, this is not a brain. In this metaphor lies the secret to understanding LLM-based AI. As in the treachery of images, a picture of a pipe is not a pipe. It only functions as a representation of one. You could not smoke from that pipe. More than once, anyway. It is oil on canvas. The most important part of making this metaphor was realizing that it is wrong. Yes, like any good AI intellectual, I have now told you a lie. However, recognizing this lie reveals the truth. The truth, I have found, is that an LLM is not a brain. Which isn't to say that it is a brain. Instead, I'm saying an LLM isn't a representation of a brain. The picture is of something else. Forget that they're artificial neural networks. That makes them sound like brains, even though basically every part of the human body has networks of nerves, and LLMs certainly don't appear skin-like. Ew. Large language models are exactly what their names describe. Models of language. But in this case, a model might be more intuitively described as a map. Technically, a map is a type of model, but AI model has taken on ambiguous meaning, whereas a map is familiar. A map is just a static representation of how various points relate to each other. You can use a map to navigate a physical region in the world. A language model is a map of language, a region of words that are all related in some way. By literal definition, I could end it here. An LLM is a representation of language, not a brain. But what does that actually mean for our understanding of AI? I'll assume you've heard the basics of AI, and I'll focus on a few important points. AI is predictive text. It's confusingly, infuriatingly simple. Nothing about it is person or brain-shaped. Sequence in, one word out, repeat. It does this by referencing the map of language. It receives a sequence of words, checks how they connect on the map, and predicts the next place it will go. There are refinements of this, but I believe most of them boil down to how you read the map and what parts you look at. The map itself is just a static reference for the relationships between words. What if it wasn't static, is the obvious question, and it further demonstrates my point. Brains are complex machines that change their physical structure. Allowing a representation of a brain to change could make it intelligent. But a language model is a map of language. You can edit a map to emphasize or update certain features, but if you change the structure of a map, it stops working for navigation. That describes fine-tuning and catastrophic forgetting, things that we can cause by changing LLMs. To be a useful reference, a map must be passive. I believe this disproves any possibility that an LLM can be intelligent. To quote my greatest influence in the field of AI, I don't believe being passive is enough. I am, of course, talking about the self-taught British game developer turned AI creator with an internet-famous AI daughter, Steve Grant. I still don't know why there are two of those, but the funny turtle man is also cool, and an example of how LLMs can be used to do interesting things. In fact, I will mention him later. Steve is technically an artificial life or a-life researcher, meaning he's thought more about how brains work than most AI researchers. You can read his thoughts on fantasia.life or his old blog, stevegrand.wordpress.com. Silicon Valley leaders who claim to either be developing or warning of an AI superintelligence speak of self-improving beings that can learn how to learn with mortal fear and reverence. We need to restrict who can make them. People make those all the time. They're called children. I understand why most AI people wouldn't want to acknowledge the existence of children, given their ties to billionaire philanthropists. Thanks to his complete lack of funding, Steve has no such limitation, and to continue the previous quote, has observed, "A newborn baby can learn very little about her world passively. It's just a meaningless blur of moving colors. It's only the discovery that she can change things, and that this is repeatable, that really triggers the bootstrapping process of learning. She has to discover that what she does affects what she sees to even know that she exists. Language maps are passive. Their training could be described as presenting them with a blur of moving words until they represent patterns in that data. They cannot perceive, take action, or perceive a change caused by their actions and then draw a correlation between them. Therefore, language maps cannot learn, nor can they know that they exist." Steve has also made a point of the fact that autonomous agent means something different in A-life than contemporary AI, where it means a program that uses AI to do stuff without human intervention. In A-life, you cannot program something to be autonomous. It's a contradiction in terms. Program means write ahead, to make instructions that will be followed in a set way in the future. This is what makes computers useful, reliable tools. In theory. Autonomy means self-law. A truly autonomous agent, like an animal or a person, acts based on what it wants or feels at any given time. It chooses its own future. Acting like a person requires wanting and feeling, but language maps cannot want or feel. They can appear to want or feel, and this can lead to the conclusion that they've somehow gone past the limits of a word predictor and evolve into a representation of a brain. This is magical nonsense and leaves open possibilities like explosive superintelligence. The trick actually is as simple as predicting words. LLMs are maps of language, a body of related words. The text LLMs are trained on includes stories and records about people and characters who do want and feel things. Using an LLM to predict words that describe a fictional character allows it to indirectly model a person. Darth Vader approaches, Luke Skywalker draws his. The next word is probably lightsaber. The AI didn't experience fear, draw a weapon, or prepare to harm a person, but it predicted that a fictional character would. The AI itself is neither Darth Vader nor Luke Skywalker in this scenario. It isn't acting like them either. It's writing a book about them, which is still inaccurate as it isn't representing the processes of a writer. It is the book. Ceci n'est pas un cerveau is incorrect. Ceci n'est pas un livre is the oil on canvas. An LLM is a representation of text, a picture of a book. Then it is used to represent a book which represents characters who want and feel things. Doing this accurately requires modeling many abstract and complex ideas, including information about the characters it's meant to represent. For example, it must know that Luke Skywalker has a lightsaber, which is a glowing sword only used by members of a mostly extinct order of knights. It must know that his response to Darth Vader's approach would not be to grovel and beg for mercy. At the cost of speaking more French, I will disclose that I have a powerful sense of déjà vu about this example. Maybe I heard it somewhere already. This means an LLM can model an intelligent agent indirectly, but I believe that the indirectness matters. It means the AI has not left the boundaries of token prediction, and changes the nature of the characters people are interacting with. If someone said, "The AI doesn't want to be turned off," I would have previously corrected them. It's saying that because it was trained on books about AI that doesn't want to be turned off. It's not a person, it's acting like one. But that was incorrect. It's not saying words or acting as a person would. I would now say the LLM is generating a story about an AI that doesn't want to be turned off. It is acting like text that depicts a person. I believe if you simply instructed it to write something else, that person would stop existing. I cannot completely dismiss the idea that an automated character could become functionally identical to an autonomous agent, but that has very different challenges and implications than the AI itself becoming intelligent. Also, since I indirectly mentioned Vettel 987, I want to add that I basically intuited this automated fictional character explanation for how real Neuro and Evil are by March of 2025. I have it in my notes and probably commented it somewhere, but didn't make the generalized conclusion about LLMs that I've reached now. So whether I realized this over a year early or a year late is a matter of perspective. And here's why it all matters. I believe AI corporations and billionaires want everyone to misunderstand AI, to believe that there is a magic step between token predictor and person. People who use AI without understanding it will use it for more things, less efficiently, while being more influenced by its output. People who criticize AI without understanding it can become pawns for the very people they mean to oppose. Some people try using AI superintelligence spheres to campaign for laws against data centers and AI development, despite the fact that this narrative was spread by Altman and friends to begin with. It's what OpenAI is supposed to be for. They've spent decades saying this. When AI is the villain, billionaires are saviors. The AI doomsday myth only gives the worst of humanity more money and power. Don't fall for it. This video brought to you indirectly by Bernie Sanders parroting oligarch propaganda. Alright, any questions, thoughts, or feedbacks? Leave them in the comments. I have a lot of things to say that aren't about AI. I also have more to say about AI because it's the hyperfixation that's been winning lately. If you want to hear either, subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching.